Welcome to the PCOS Fertility Health Podcast. If you have ever been told that you just can't get regular periods with PCOS, or you feel like that after you've been researching or talking to other women, then this is an important episode for you. We are going to dive into this idea as a misconception about PCOS. And you're going to understand why it's a misconception and why it's a problem when you're moving forward with your fertility journey. And then you're also going to leave today knowing how to view your body and what to look for in a fertility plan that's actually going to bring you those results. Welcome. I am your host, Dr. Angela Potter. I am the creator of the PCOS Fertility Protocol, and I work with women around the country to help them understand the root cause of their PCOS fertility struggles and help them get the very best chance they can at getting pregnant with PCOS. You are here today because you have been trying to get pregnant for the past 6 years, and you have met with your doctor who has run some tests for you, and you've been told, well, everything looks fine. Just come back when you're ready to go through IVF. And you have irregular periods, you were on birth control for a little while, you got off that birth control, and your periods have been all over the place since then. Sometimes they're 40 days, sometimes they're 70 days, sometimes they're 85 days long. You want to understand what's going on in your body because you feel like, well, if everything on my labs looks fine, why am I still not pregnant naturally? I know that I want to be working on my fertility health to understand what's going on to help bring my body back into balance. And so you are here in the perfect place today. And I want to acknowledge you for showing up here because there's millions of podcast episodes out there, and you have chosen to listen to this one today. You are choosing to flood your brain with information about how to support your body with PCOS and how to get optimal health when you're on this long journey. And I think that's really cool because as we're going to talk about today, there are so many misconceptions when it comes to PCOS and fertility. I want to unpack for you and dispel these common misconceptions so that you can understand more about what's going on internally in your body. Can you get regular periods with PCOS? I remember having this conversation with somebody and we were talking on the phone and I was describing how I do the work that I do. And I was saying something like, yep, and then we look at this part and we look at these hormones, all so that you can get regular periods and improve your fertility. And the person there was this pause. And then she asked, is it actually possible to get regular periods with PCOS? And that really struck me because that came from such a deep place inside of her where you could tell that she had been getting this information that wasn't possible. And that just because she had PCOS, that set her up for a reproductive lifetime of irregular cycles, that it just wasn't possible to come back into this regular balance for her periods. So that's why I want to bring this up today to talk with you about it, to help you understand what's actually going on behind that as a misconception, why it's so frequently talked about as truth, and how to look for a fertility plan that addresses those issues in your body so that you can come back to a place where you're working towards getting regular periods. There's a lot of information out there about periods and PCOS, and a lot of what other doctors are talking about, well, okay, you have PCOS, you have irregular periods. Like that's just the definition of PCOS is irregular periods. So we have to see that and then see how we can support you. And many doctors and many clinics come from a medication management model of medicine. That's a lot of M's. And what that means is that they are viewing the body from really this mechanistic way to say, okay, you've got this symptom. What is this medication that we can use in order to manage that symptom? So it's very direct. Now, in many cases, that's a good thing. When it comes to cycles, your period and PCOS, those two pieces, that medication just focused on that one symptom, isn't doing the rebalancing in the body that is the underlying hope. What's happening is that the medication that's available to regulate periods with PCOS really is birth control. Birth control pills are the top recommendation as a medication to regulate periods with PCOS. Now, what's happening is that those birth control pills aren't actually regulating the internal hormones to create this regular rhythm. From the outside, it does look like that, right? If you're taking the pill, we're talking about the pill specifically. If you take the pill, then your periods are, that regular rhythm, that 28 days, it's a really light bleed. And so from the outside, it looks like it's actually regulating your cycles. And that can feel like, yes, I reached this point where I have regular cycles. But what's happening internally in the body is that birth control is just shutting down your body's natural hormone systems, that estrogen and progesterone, because you're just replacing the body with these synthetic hormones. And those hormones talk to the brain and they say, hey, we've got this covered. You don't have to do any more work to create hormones because we're going to take over that job. And so birth control does have a place in the fertility world in very specific instances. Right now, we're talking about regulating periods. And when you want to get back to regular periods on your own, that birth control path is just shutting down the internal hormones. And what we see so often is that then women are coming off of the birth control and their periods are still really irregular. Maybe they were actually regular before getting on the birth control and now they're irregular coming off of it. And then weight gain, sometimes acne popping up, and these issues that are actually leading you further away from getting pregnant. It wasn't doing that job of regulating your body's internal hormones. Now, some doctors will use metformin or spironolactone. Metformin is used to lower insulin levels, and the spironolactone is used to lower testosterone and androgen hormones, both really common in PCOS. So sometimes those medications are used to help then bring those hormones back into a place where the body can make those reproductive hormones, that estrogen and progesterone, in a natural way. When a doctor is coming from that medication management perspective, do you see how then that sets up for a conversation of, well, these are the only tools that we have to help you get your period back into regular rhythm. Don't expect much because these are not actually getting to the core issue of what is keeping your body from having regular periods. And so that is one reason why so much of this information that you find online or when you're in a conversation with a doctor, it's so much about like, well, PCOS just naturally sets you up for irregular periods. And the only thing we can do is try a few different medications to see if that helps. But it's not getting to the core issue of what's keeping you from having irregular periods. So the other issue with this misconception of, oh, you have PCOS, you can't get regular periods, is that PCOS, by the diagnosis, there are all these elements to it that set you up for irregular periods. Okay, so hormonal issues that we know are creating problems with ovulation and regular periods. So testosterone, elevated testosterone and other androgen hormones are a part of the diagnosis. When those androgen hormones are elevated, those we know are shutting down ovulation. Insulin. Elevated insulin, it's not part of the diagnosis, but it's so common with PCOS that, we see that very often, that elevated insulin, it's pushing those testosterone levels and it's shutting down ovulation. And then just this blanket statement of ovulation issues is part of the PCOS diagnosis. It could be a variety of things that are causing those ovulation issues. But if you're not getting regular ovulation every cycle, even when you have regular periods, or if you're having those irregular cycles, right, you're then put into that camp of you have ovulation issues. And that is another aspect of the PCOS diagnosis. When a doctor is looking at that diagnosis, they're saying, okay, well, you have PCOS. You have these hormonal issues that are setting you up for irregular periods. And the only tools that we have are either the birth control. Maybe they'll try metformin or spironolactone, but those are the only tools. And then if you're trying to get pregnant with PCOS, then they'll say, well, in that case, the only tools that we have are those ovulation induction medications like letrozole or Clomid or IVF. Those are the only options. That is coming at the model of health from a very limited place. To say, well, okay, your body has already set you up for this PCOS picture. You're just going to have to deal with this. And we can manage this a little bit with a few medications. And let's try and see if those work. But if you're trying to get pregnant, the only way you're going to get pregnant is through one of those medications or through IVF. So do you see how that just paves the way for this misconception of, oh, you have PCOS, you're going to have your regular periods? It lays forth in the medical world to continue this idea that, well, you're just going to have to deal with this. We can only manage the symptoms and we can only give medications or these advanced therapies if you're trying to get pregnant, because we don't have a medication that actually fixes everything that's going on with PCOS. And do you see how that is limiting to the true potential that your body has of coming back into regular rhythm? And I don't just say that, throwing that out there, like, let's all go meditate and have all these positive thoughts and our bodies are going to come back into regular rhythm. No, I'm seeing this because of the patients that I'm working with and walking them through my PCOS fertility protocol and seeing them and hearing their stories of saying, hey, I got my first positive ovulation test. Guess what? I'm on my second cycle of 30 days. I'm seeing this with patients, and this is a possibility for you. But what has to happen is that you need to be working with a doctor who looks at the body from a systems perspective. As we were talking about earlier, that medication management model is looking at the body from this mechanistic perspective. Like, oh, you have irregular cycles. We can only look at the ovaries and the hormones coming from the ovaries, those reproductive hormones, to make a change. Okay, if you have a headache, they just look at that headache and say, we need a medication, or we need to figure out, are you having low blood flow to the brain, and fix that. That's looking at the body from this mechanistic way. Different systems in the body are separate. But when you view the body in a systems perspective, which is how I look at it, that's when systems are all interconnected. And your brain is talking to your ovaries, and your adrenal glands with your cortisol are talking to your insulin and talking to your ovaries, and your thyroid is talking to your ovaries. When you understand those interconnections and you're able to look at the body from this global perspective to understand, okay, this person in front of me doesn't have regular periods. They've been diagnosed with PCOS. Okay, what is that underlying issue that's setting them up for those irregular periods? What are the other systems that are contributing to this picture of irregular cycles? Are cortisol levels leading to elevated insulin, which are leading to elevated testosterone, which is shutting down ovulation? Has this person been in a depleted state over the past years, decade? And so they're low on important antioxidants that are keeping their eggs from being able to mature to be happy and healthy. Is the thyroid contributing to ovulation issues? Does this person have a regular TSH, but yet, oh, here they have thyroid antibodies? So they have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which means they have inflammation in the body, which is impacting implantation. Do you see how that is a completely different way of looking at the body? And so that is how I was able to set up my PCOS fertility protocol in this step-by-step manner to look at the different systems. Like when we're working together in that protocol, we are covering the systems that could be impacting your fertility. Because number one, you just need a doctor to be able to address that with you to say, is this an issue? To really dive in, do some testing for you to understand, is your gut health contributing to your fertility? I do a comprehensive GI analysis that's looking at microbes and bacteria and inflammation in the gut to see, are there issues that are coming from the gut that's actually contributing to fertility? So you need a doctor to be able to help you identify if that is an issue for you, and then also create a plan that's going to address those things. That's one piece of it, that you want to be working with a doctor who has that systems view of the body to be able to see how all the different systems interact and what of these other systems are actually contributing to you not able to have a period, addressing those, and then seeing how that changes your cycles. And the second part of that is working with a doctor who truly believes and can see the way forward for supporting the body to heal. Now, that mechanistic, the body is a machine, is not an approach that typically supports this, your body has an innate ability to heal. Now, again, even in the fertility journey, sometimes those fertility medications or advanced therapies like IVF are the ticket to pregnancy. And that is amazing to be in this space of medicine where we have those tools available for us. But that is not helpful when you're in this space of trying to understand the root cause of what's going on in your body, why you are not having regular periods, why not having regular periods is then leading to you not able to have a healthy pregnancy, not even being able to have a positive pregnancy test over the past 6 years of trying. I believe that the body has an innate ability to heal. Now, this looks different for every person. It has different timelines for every person, which is why it's so important to get that individualized plan for your periods, to bring your periods back into regular rhythm. And that is how I set up my PCOS fertility protocol, is so that we can identify these areas of the body that need to be addressed in order to help the body just have that framework, have that foundation to be able to come back to a place where you're able to have regular periods. Because that is a place that your body wants to be in. As somebody with female organs, with female hormones, that's what our body's resting state is, to be having a period every month. And so it's not like we're trying to do rocket science here and get you to a place where you've got, immortality. No, like we just are bringing the body back to a place where it wants to be. And so you want to be working with a doctor who holds that hope for you and has a path forward to help you understand the steps that are needed in order to get your body back to a place where it has that foundation that it needs in order to then get back to a place where you have regular periods. Now, again, you need to be having conversations about, okay, this is what's going on in my body. This is my medical history. These are results from my fertility tests. Based on all that information, how long is that timeline going to be? What are all of these different aspects of my health that need to get optimized in order for me to start seeing results? That's a really important conversation to have because, again, this is all individualized. Your body is different from your friend's body. It's different from my body. We all have different layers that need to be identified and then addressed for the body to then come back into this regular rhythm. Because as you know, a house cannot be built on a foundation that is cracking. And let's say the walls have gone up on the house and you are planning to move in and you are super excited and the only thing they have to do is put the roof on. But then an inspector comes by and says, well, this foundation is cracking. You've got to take care of these cracks. And so the walls probably have to come down and the foundation has to get rebuilt. And that's really frustrating because you were at a point where you said, oh, but the roof was just about to go on. I was almost there. But if that roof had gone on, that house could come crumbling down because of that foundation that was not strong enough. And you might be in that place where you're talking with the doctor and they're saying, okay, let's move forward with an IUI, or your next step is IVF. So part of you is thinking, well, I'm so close to pregnancy. But if that foundation, if you're still having irregular cycles and you haven't at least at the very least worked on a plan to optimize getting your cycles back to be regular and optimize your fertility health, then you don't have that fertility foundation. And so even though you're that close with potentially trying a fertility medication, you want to be sure that your foundation is set and that you have a strong foundation so that you can move forward with the best chances at getting pregnant with PCOS. And that's a big problem that I see with this misconception when women are told, well, you have PCOS, so you're just going to have these irregular cycles. And the only thing that we can do for you to help you get pregnant is to give you a medication or have you go through IVF. That is setting you up for lower fertility chances because it's leaving this whole aspect of your health unchecked. It's just saying like, well, we're just going to take what we have and see if it works. We're going to throw some spaghetti at the wall and hope that IVF works. Now, again, IVF is not a bad thing. The issue is it's being recommended at the wrong time in the fertility journey. Taking this step back to understand the root cause of what is keeping your body from having regular periods, to do that work and to get a plan that addresses those things. And so maybe you've done this work to optimize your fertility health, but your timeline is shorter than what your body has. And your periods still aren't coming back into regular rhythm and you're ready to move forward. Well, all that work that you've been doing to support getting your periods back into regular rhythm is supporting your fertility health and increasing your chances of those fertility medications working. Because when you are focused on supporting your periods to come back into regular rhythm, all that you're doing around that is then supporting your fertility as well. Yes, there are other reasons for fertility struggles, certainly. I mean, the obvious one is the guy, right? And he's 50% of this equation. So we have got to take that look at what else is happening. But do you see how when you're focused on bringing your body back into regular rhythm, that is fundamentally supporting your fertility support? And when I'm working with patients, of course the goal is fertility. Of course the end goal is getting them pregnant and helping them have the best chance at getting pregnant, either naturally or through medications. And you know what we're doing while we're improving their fertility? We're supporting their regular periods to come back. We are supporting that whole system and all the other systems in the body to be focused on getting that regular rhythm in their body that's supporting fertility. How cool is that? And so if you're in this place where you have been trying to get pregnant for the past 6 years, you are continually coming up to information that you can't get regular periods with PCOS, and the only thing to do is come back when you're ready for IVF. and you're in that place where you don't want to yet have that IVF conversation. You want to be doing this work to understand the root cause of your fertility issues, to do that work to support your body to come back into regular balance and see what opens up with your fertility in that way. If that is you and you need a doctor to help you with that, I'm your doctor. You can sign up for a PCOS Fertility Breakthrough Session, and that is a free call where you and I are going to talk about what's been happening over these past few years of you trying to get pregnant, what's been missing from your care during those years, and then I'm going to help you get clarity on what's the single most important step you can take in order to move forward, getting your periods back into regular rhythm and having the very best chance at getting pregnant. You can sign up for one of those at drangelapotter.com/PCOS. I would love to talk with you about your specific fertility needs and how to move forward to have the best chance at getting pregnant. As we wrap up here this week, I want to remind you that this podcast is for informational purposes only. And the only way to get one-on-one information about your specific needs is to hop on one of those PCOS fertility breakthrough sessions. And if nobody has told you this today, I want to be the one to tell you that I believe in you and I believe in your ability to have the very best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS. I'll see you next Wednesday.